Good afternoon. Thank you. So in order for you to fully appreciate the journey that we've been on to create COCAbiz, I'm going to ask you just to close your eyes so I can paint a scene for you and I can take you there. So imagine that you're sent on a 6-day off-site retreat and you're sent to a place in rural Virginia. That's right, it's remote and there's no Wi-Fi. And with you in this cabin in the woods is a very colorful cast of characters. A serial entrepreneur, a dancer, a couple of corporate executives, a visual artist, a fundraiser, some board members, and an arts administrator. It sounds a little bit like the setup for a nonprofit murder mystery. And if that weren't enough, the topic that you're sent there to talk about for 6 days is a very fuzzy program concept to convince business leaders that improv and dancing and painting are the next big thing in corporate training. You can open your eyes. This isn't a horror movie, but in fact it was our reality in trying to create COCAbiz. But I'm here to talk about it. So on this journey to conceive and develop COCAbiz over the past several years, this is what we were learning to do, to color outside the lines. That's how I think about innovation work. It's really about giving yourself permission to go outside the boundaries that shape yourself and the organizations that we're in. And in doing so, we've created a greater sense of urgency about our mission. As many organizations have said over the past few days, the unprecedented factors of the past 5 years have been game-changing. Seismic shifts in our economy, technology integrated to every facet of our life, the list goes on and on. I don't need to rehash those. But for years as arts organizations, we've been told that following best practice in the field, benchmarking our success against other leaders in the field, and running our organizations more like businesses would be essential to our success. It was a little bit like an institutional version of paint by numbers. Essentially, if you follow the guidelines, stay in the lines, you'll be fine and you'll succeed. Well, in 2009, this template became irrelevant. We all went looking for new ways of doing business. So we did what all great organizations do. We followed the advice of the 15th century philosopher Machiavelli. I was pretty sure I'd be the only one to quote Machiavelli today, but it was Machiavelli who first said, "Never waste the opportunities offered by a good crisis." So here's what we did. This was our war room in the retreat. This is where we had the aha to create COCAbiz. COCAbiz is our arts-based learning and training division for business. We created COCAbiz because we believe that human creativity is the ultimate competitive advantage in today's world. And we know that in arts learning, we have some of the best tools to develop the habits of mind that fuel creativity. So at a time when the arts are being cut from education, perhaps the boldest, most direct path to building audience is going directly to our largest, most untapped source. And so we did. The purpose of this Innovation Lab retreat was to explore a little side project that we had going on called Creativity in Business at the time. We were trying to connect our corporate donors more closely with our mission. So we started a lunchtime speaker series, and the first person that we brought in happened to be Dan Pink right after he wrote A Whole New Mind. So not only did this event and many others sell out, we actually had the corporate community calling us saying, "What else can you do? What's the next thing? Could we create a committee to start working on this?" Now, I'm not sure about all of your organizations, but we were used to knocking on a lot of unanswered doors with our corporate friends, and so this was quite unusual. It was clear that the business community was hungry for this content. So we started asking questions. Could we use our teaching and learning models that we knew were successful with students and apply them to help business leaders develop 21st century skills that they needed to succeed? Could the learning be authentic to the arts and relevant to the business community? And how would our teaching artists and staff need to adapt? Over the next several years, we went about addressing each and every question. Today, COCAbiz delivers a variety of public programs and custom arts-based training to businesses. To date, COCAbiz has served 3,300 business leaders from more than 350 different companies. And while our path has been filled with extreme challenges, there have been invaluable rewards and critical things that we've learned along the way. So regardless what type of organization you are, I think the lessons that we've learned can apply to your organizations as well. First, define your brand promise. COCA is a dynamic community arts center in St. Louis. We're a hub for learning in the arts, all ages, all disciplines, all skill levels. One could simplify and define our work by saying that we develop people's technical skills in the arts, be it in dance, theater, vocal music, art, and design. But we don't see our work that way anymore. Without overpromising, we see our agenda as much bigger. We're in the business of developing great human beings. So at COCA, we believe our job, our brand promise, is to foster potential into reality. That's the business we're in. And we had a real paradigm shift when we defined our work in much bigger ways. To realize transformation, you have to go to the edges where you're most vulnerable. For us, we took a giant leap of faith in 2009. We essentially asked ourselves, if arts education is as powerful and as good as we claim, could we deliver meaningful results to our biggest skeptics? And if we could, wouldn't this be a profound way to create a seismic shift in thinking about arts learning? So for your organizations, think about your scariest don't go there place and challenge yourself to ask, what if? Why not? Most often, it's the fear that stops us dead in our tracks. For COCA, we had to overcome an inferiority complex. As an arts organization, we were told repeatedly from funders and board members that we should operate more like businesses, which ultimately meant more risk-averse, more analytical, more structured in our operations, a little bit more left brain. That was ingrained in our culture and our thinking. So we had to let go of that very deep-seated notion to start to understand and appreciate what we, as an innovative arts learning organization, could offer business. Could we offer them a little bit of our right brain? And we ultimately found out that we had a tremendous amount of content, experience, and process that was meaningful and valuable to business professionals. So despite being certain about the impact of this half-baked program, we went to our first customers with abundance, with confidence, and conviction. It took a lot of courage. The ironic thing that we discovered was that the way to impart fear in corporate America is not economic crashes, it's not global competition. No, the thing that causes them to break out in cold sweats is the mere mention of dancing. And I know the dance organizations know this. They're terrified to embrace anything beyond neck-up thinking. So our first paid business at COCAbiz was to a group of 150 financial advisors. So what did we do with them? We took them and ourselves to our edge. We had the nerve to do tango-based lessons focusing on leading and following, and improv exercises focused on active listening. Not only did we make it through that first session alive, I will never forget the words of the corporate leader who had the nerve to engage us in that process when he came up to us afterwards and said, "This was a home run." They need to get out of their heads, out of their comfort zones, and approach their work with new perspectives and new tools. They need to feel it. In order to figure out if we could develop programs that would be authentic to the arts and deliver effective outcomes to businesses, we had to talk to skeptics. So for the first time, we brought outsiders into the co-creation process. We invited them into our sandbox to play. We needed these diverse perspectives. As I mentioned earlier, the retreat and the entire creation process for this program was tumultuous at times. There was extreme misunderstanding and miscommunication. Our two cultures stumbled over language and norms each and every moment. There was a tremendous gap between our two worlds. We approached our work from very different places and spent a painful amount of time trying to understand each other. Ultimately, we started building together, and we emerged from this co-creation process with one of the most profound learning experiences that any of us had ever had. And this is when we knew we had something special to offer, but we really had to listen to each other to get there. I know that we know risk and failure come hand in hand. There's no getting around it. The thing to remember that the risk of evolving far less than the risk of standing still. So throughout the development of COCAbiz, there has been no best practice, there's been no roadmap. Everything has been a learning curve for us. The language, how we would describe and try to articulate a program that they had never experienced or heard of, types of formats and approaches that would work best, how would we price it? So we had no choice. We piloted, we talked to skeptics, we gave complimentary registrations, a lot of them, we evaluated, and we failed a lot. We learned, we iterated, we got better, but we had to fail to get there. When we developed COCAbiz, we wanted a program that delivered on quality and impact while potentially generating earned revenue to support our core programs. But perhaps the most surprising aspect of our work has been the many positive unintended outcomes of COCAbiz. As a result, we have new donors, we have new networks, and we are in new conversations and at new tables. Our family around the organization has grown significantly. We have forged new innovative partnerships, such as the one with St. Louis University. They heard of our work and asked if they could partner with us. And this fall, we've launched a first-of-its-kind series of arts-based learning programs embedded in their MBA program. And now they are promoting, in the business journals, learning through the arts. But perhaps the most profound outcome is that we are developing audiences who now have a greater understanding of the value of arts education. When someone has a personal experience or they see their employee team change in profound ways because of an experience and a set of programs, they understand why all students need to have access to meaningful arts programs as part of their education. So we've learned a lot over the past few years. Some may still say, so what? Why should the arts bother with the business community? There are plenty of audiences that are far more deprived, that are more in need of arts programming. And this is why we bother. I will say the heart and soul of COCA's work and commitment will always be in making the arts accessible to kids from all backgrounds. And we've been relentless in this commitment. But ultimately, our learning with COCAbiz has helped us to understand that the arts are needed more than ever. We are living in an economy in which ideas drive progress. And it's through the arts that people learn to see multiple solutions, to generate and communicate ideas more effectively, to build confidence, to take risks. They learn to observe and recognize patterns and to make nonlinear connections. And why wouldn't we want a population of thriving minds capable of using the full power and potential of both their left and right brain capabilities? Our COCAbiz work has given us increased urgency for our school-based work. We need to ensure that the education system recognizes the importance and powerful role of learning in the arts, because this is the pipeline to a 21st century workforce that can innovate its way out of problems and not shut down. And unfortunately, too often, we are still teaching people how to paint by numbers when we need to be teaching them how to color outside the lines. So making the case for arts education, it's not a nicety or a luxury. It's essential to our economy, to the vibrancy of our communities, and to the success of the next generation. So particularly at this time in history, it is critical that we need to adamantly make the case for arts education. So this is our organization's agenda. But I would encourage all of us to keep our collective agenda in the arts big, as sometimes our definitions of audience are too small, our language is too limiting, and our definitions of success too traditional. Our job in the arts is to inspire, and we need to be passionate and provocative. Thank you.